Kachara Sahab to start with Mangla Charan Navokar Mantra.
नमोकार महामंत्र। नमो अरिहंताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो आयर्याणं नमो वज्झायाणं नमो लोये सव्वसाहुणं ऐसो पंच नमोकारो सव्व पावपणासणं मंगलाणं च सव्येसिं परमं हवै मंगलम् परमं हवै मंगलम्।
Thank you, Kachara Sahab. So, today we have two lectures, one from Dr. Sudhir Shah and another from Anil Jain from Surat. So, first lecture will be from Dr. Sudhir Shah. Uh, Actually, he needs no introduction, but for someone of people who are new to this group, let me give a brief introduction of Dr. Sudhir Shah. He is, as he has already mentioned in first slide, he is senior consultant neurologist and also professor in NHL college. And what important thing is he was awarded Padma Shri by Government of India in 2016, and he has written many books, including on Jainism as well. He has done many things. One I remember, but I didn't find it in the Wikipedia. He also did one exercise regarding long fasting and intermittent fasting. So it was also should be added in the Wikipedia, I think. Anyway, so now I request Dr. Sudhir Saji to start with your lecture. Dr. Sudhir Saji, please.
नमस्कार, thank you very much. And I bow down to all my seniors and respected scholars which are present here, and also my colleagues and those all who are interested in learning, knowing, and passing the knowledge forward. Now, I have some points to make before I start the presentation. Uh, why this topic matters? The topic is the concept of brain and mind and consciousness as understood in science. That is the topic that has been given. Now, it's a core question not only from neuroscience but also from philosophy. And generally, discussing only brain and mind does not work out because you cannot separate the concept of brain and mind from concept of consciousness. So all three are so much entangled that you have to somewhere include all three in the discussion. This is the basis of cognition, behavior, self-awareness, and the relevance from neuro perspective is in neurological disorders, including coma, epilepsy, dementia, psychiatry, etc. In a way, it's a bridge between biology and subjective experiences. But the problem is neuroscience does not have answer to many of the questions posed here, and there are reasons which we'll see in our presentation. I mean, neuroscience does not accept the presence of soul as a separate entity, cannot explain the subjective experiences, and so on. And add to it my own limitation because this is such a vast and complex subject that I wonder how one can discuss this in a small presentation. Although Dr. Anil Jain is kind enough to give me sufficient time, 45 minutes, etc., but I'll try if I can finish it earlier. The reason of this long presentation is multifold. Actually, Dr. Sancheti has already discussed very eloquently in RTM2 about the mind and brain and aspects of consciousness. But he was wise enough not to plunge himself into the theories of consciousness and mind and brain models, etc., because it's a very, very tricky subject. But as he has covered almost all other aspects, I am left with nothing but to discuss the hardcore science, neuroscience, with different theories and models, etc. So, which is a very complex subject. I am sure as scientists, you people would love that, but for a common person, it's a difficult topic to understand. You see, all subjective or personal experiences cannot be reduced to mere biological phenomena, and science has gone much, much further and tried to, incorporate all these things into neuroscience experiences with fMRI, PET, and MEEG, and all that. But still, that subjective experience, the I, my personal feelings cannot be really explained in words beyond a certain limit. Uh, Older concepts are being challenged, like consciousness, subconsciousness, unconscious mind, but somehow it is retained in contemporary science for explanatory reasons. But these subjects are having their own problems in the real hardcore cognitive neuroscience. Amongst neuroscientists, also, there is no consensus about a single theory or model explaining brain, mind. Neither they are concurrent with psychologists or psychiatrists, nor with biologists. So, all these three branches differ as far as the mind and brain explanation is concerned. And of course, consciousness, the substrate. The 3 pound enigma of the brain is a really a very, very difficult problem as we go through that. So, trying to explain in simpler words is a good idea, but it's not that easy. That's what I can understand. I had tried in past also to understand this phenomena, but for many years I did not work on it. But now, after the invitation, I went through this topic and read a little, and also tried to check some books and articles. And this is what that I have gathered for all of you. I am personally not worked on the subject of brain and mind. I have not written any article, so that is my limitation. Brain is neurons and network in simple words. Mind is thoughts, emotions, cognition. Consciousness is awareness of self and environment. The key issue here is how brain generates mind. Now, in previous lectures, it has been already shown that the brain is a biological organ of the mind, and the modern neuroscience paradigm is to, the brain is treated as a biological organ underlying all mental phenomena, including thought, perception, emotion, belief, memory, consciousness, and whatnot. And the scope and scale of neural activity is 86 billion neurons at the brain of 1.3 gram, 1.3 kilogram, and there are more than 100 trillion synapses. You know what synapses is. So Dr. Sanjay did already talk about that. I know that. So interconnecting the vast neural network to allow this complex cognitive processing, this is what is the phenomena of cognition and consciousness and all the mental processes. So this is also, I think, fast revision. Prefrontal cortex of the brain observes reasoning, planning, and executing decision making. This is the front part. It's called prefrontal cortex, which is typically lacking in the animals below us, including monkeys. This part is not that developed. Hippocampus is the critical organ for memory, encoding, and spatial navigation of it. Amygdala modulates emotional learning and threat appraisal, fear, etc. Basal ganglia in action selection, habit formation, reward-based learning, and our subconscious skill. And cerebellum coordinates motor precision is now understood to contribute to cognitive and affective processing as well. So these are the functions of the brain parts. But what about mind? Mind is a tricky and contested concept. The concept of mind is more contested than that of physical brain. While the brain provides a clear physical and analytical structure we can see, feel, and can cut and dissect, defining the mind introduces profound philosophical and scientific issues and complexities. Nobody has seen mind. It's a concept. In everyday language, the mind refers to the totality of conscious and unconscious mental processes where there are thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, desires, intentions, perceptions, and so on. So the mind is largely treated as what brain does. In a very simple terms, neuroscience and cognitive science today mentions that mind is nothing but what brain does. So the functional aspect of the brain is called mind in the contemporary neuroscience. Mental processes are understood fundamentally as computational operations implemented in neural tissue. What are the neural correlates of consciousness? This is a different subject, so we'll not go into details, but I will just mention briefly, as we mentioned, the anatomy. Thalamocortical circuits, the reticuloactive system, and frontoparietal networks contribute to consciousness. That's what largely neuroscientists believe. Now, before I start the different theories, let me mention a few words about identity theory and physicalism. So, mental states are neural states. That is what identity theory of mind and brain says. There is a strong reductionism here because, they are equating neural states and mental states. But what is the limitation? It ignores qualia. What is qualia? Self experiences. The feeling of something. Red is red, and I get pain. So how I perceive pain? How can I describe pains beyond words? The subjective feeling that is called qualia. So that cannot be explained on the basis of identity theory. So physicalism and identity theory are almost same in the sense physicalism is a broader philosophical framework holding that everything mental is ultimately grounded in or identical to physical matter and processes. Identity theory is a direct equation of mind with physical brain function, while in physicalism they are all grounded in physical matter and processes. So physicalism acts as a foundational commitment asserting that the mind depends on the physical brain. Identity theory goes a step further by stating that the mind and the brain are literally the same entity. So this is what, before we start our main discussion, we should know. What is the philosophical challenge? This neat equation that mind and brain function remains deeply contested philosophically. The core of the problem lies in how closely the concept of brain and mind is inextricably interconnected with the concept of consciousness. We'll come to that in a minute. So what happened? David Chalmers, one of the great philosopher, distinguished between two types of challenges in consciousness research. What he said, there are easy problems focused on explaining the objective cognitive function like attention, memory, reportability. Well, all these are now very well studied in neuroscience and cognitive science. So we know where the memory resides, how it is encoded, and how where it is retrieved, etc., etc. Attention, reportability, all these things are easy problems because now we understand total anatomical and functional architect of this. But what is the hard problem? Hard problem asks a fundamental question. Why is there a subjective experience at all? Why do physical processes in the brain give rise to the felt quality of experience? Like, as I mentioned, seeing the color red or hearing music and appreciating the particular type of music and notes and experience like pain All these problems are not in the domain of current neuroscientific theories. The hard problem of consciousness is the question of why and how physical processes in the brain give rise to subjective first person experience, as I mentioned, qualia. So, the, the question of why and how physical processes in the brain give rise to subjective, all these networks and neurotransmitters, receptors, we know. But how it produces this subjectivity, that is the issue. While the easy problems explain how the brain processes data, and the hard problem asks why that processing doesn't happen in the dark without any inner light. That's the issue. The real deepest open question to neuroscience is that no current neuroscientific theory has solved these hard problems. The experience of the different subjective phenomena, and the the feeling that this is correct, that kind of perception, and the I itself, these are the things which are not properly understood by neuroscience. So bridging the gap between objective brain mechanics and the subjective mental experience remains what many regard as the deepest open questions, and this underlines very important thing. A scientist can track neural firing but can never directly observe your unique perception of a sunset. So that's where brain and mind paradigm is getting somewhere complex. We know the brain creates the mind. However, we have absolutely no theoretical model explaining how matter generates feelings, brain generates perception, etc. So this is what is very tricky. So there are so many theories, and we will take some of them because I know that as a neurologist, it's my duty to impart this knowledge which I have gathered to all of you. Because by repeating the same thing again and again, given by previous lecturers, they have given very wonderful talks. But I want to go a step in a different direction, little deeper direction. So bear with me if you get slightly caught up in the whole thing. So there are many theories, global workshop, workspace theory, integrated information theories, IIT, predictive processing, dual aspect, monism versus identity theory, attention schema theory, embodied cognition, etc. Let's talk once again to the identity theory. What is the core definition? What is mind brain identity? Mental states are literally identical to brain state. That is what identity theory says. This theory states that the relationship between mental states and brain activities is of one of absolute identity. When you feel an emotion or think a thought, these are not separate mental events happening alongside brain activity. They are the brain activity itself. So this is the most reductionist position in cognitive science. Reductive materialism means identity theory operates as a highly reductionist framework, meaning it seeks to explain complex psychological events strictly by reducing them to biological phenomena. But as I raised the question, you cannot reduce all the psychological events or the feelings or your personal experiences to mere biological or physiological phenomena. It is not possible. As I said, pain or color perception or music or whatever. So these things are not explained by this reductionist position. The working assumption today, this perspective serves as the dominant working assumption in cognitive neuroscience, driving modern research models. So we have bypassed some of the things which are not explained, but still we take this particular theory as one of the fundamental explaining theory. Every single unique mental state corresponds directly to a specific pattern of neural firing. These complex electrical and chemical patterns take place within particular localized brain regions, mapping the subjective mind directly into an objective physical landscape. Very easy to understand. Okay, whatever brain activity is there is some mental phenomena generated from that. So neural firing creates a specific mental activity. While Descartes, the famous European physician, he had come up with the idea of dualism, not identity, dualism. He said mind is not equal to brain. There is something called the soul which sits in the pineal gland, and uh, mind, non-physical consciousness is a real concept, and there is no physicality in consciousness. However, uh, these particular concept did not get much ground, and will not go into the history part, but the interaction between mind and brain were not made clear by him, so this theory did not get into much vogue. The materialist view versus dualism, if you really consider, uh, the materialist view rejects the non-physical entity which dualism had raised. So there is no separate soul. It, functional identity, instead, identity theory confidently asserts a singular physical reality where the mind is simply what the brain does. So the experience of joy is a complex positive emotions like joy or conceptual thoughts are distinctly identifiable neurological processes happening into real time. So this is what I repeat because this is a very important topic to take forward in our further discussion. Pain, for example, is not a mysterious non-physical reaction to damage. Under this view, pain is just a specific pattern physical neural firing, example, peripheral neuropathy. Now, if I have symptoms of peripheral neuropathy and if I block that neural firing with certain drugs like gabapentin or this or that, then I expect that it will stop, and it does to some extent. So, this theory has gone quite momentum in therapeutic neurology also. As, look here, evidence, if you see a red color, then decades of neuroimaging studies have repeatedly and reportedly proved the specific area of visual cortex get activated. If you are solving a puzzle, then dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and parietal network activation occurs. I'm sure you remember Dr. Sancheti had talked about different networks also. Then joy and happiness, you will find amygdala and insula activation. If you are touching some sensory things like rough surface, then you will find somatosensory cortex activation and whatnot. So this is what is simply uh, there is a correlation, and therefore neuroscientists are happy as far as this part is concerned, and nobody is right now interested in deeply going into the subjective part and consciousness aspect. So this is the summary of the same thing. Now, another theory, apart from identity theory and dualism theory, we have functionalism. So, what is function? Is what function defines mind. Brain is equal to hardware, and mind is equal to software in a very simple terminology, like AI analogy. So mental states are defined by their functional roles and their causal relationship to inputs, outputs, and other mental states, and not by the physical specific substrate. So the same mind could, in practice, in principle, run on silicon. So why AI and other things came, Uh, mind does not require brain all the time. It can run on any other aspect like silicon. So the mental process can go on that. So this is a dominant framework in cognitive science, and therefore we could generate AI and further research on those aspects. Then the another theory that has come up is the connectionism and neural networks. So very interesting. What is connectionism? It's a powerful framework for cognitive science. It offers a powerful framework for understanding how the mind emerges from brain structure. This theory proposes that mental processes actually arise from the vast networks of interconnected, simple processing units, much like neurons in the brain. But like neuron generates something, here the whole network generates the mental processes. Rather than mind working like a computer that follows explicit rules, connectionism suggests that thinking emerges from patterns of activation spreading through this network. Like knowledge is stored not in individual neurons, but in the strength of connections between them. So when you learn something new, the connection pattern between the neurons change. What is neuroplasticity according to that is a change of the pattern of connections. So this explains why the brain can recognize specific patterns, learn from examples, and generalize from examples in the way that rule-based computers cannot. Connectionism has been particularly influential in explaining perception, language, processing, and memory. And also, it explains epilepsy, coma, and some other mental states also. So, like this is a biological neuron, and biological neuron, the physical human brain consists of billions of highly interconnected biological neurons, 86 billion, so to say, that process signals simultaneously. Here, connectionism models mental process using vast network of interconnected simple processing units that mimic this cellular structure. So this is what is I think about connection. There is no central boss here. There is no single boss unit in the brain directing traffic as in others. Parallel distributing processing information is not stored in one specific slot, but a single memory or concept is distributed across a vast network processed simultaneously. It's a very interesting concept. So uh, in classical cognitive science, the mind was often viewed like a traditional computer, right? Central processor manipulating symbols according to strict logical rules. While connectionism rejects this, it embraces emergentism, the idea that complex mental phenomena emerge from the collective behavior of billions of incredible, simple, interconnected neurons. So this is what I think. How thinking emerges, mental processes propagate as patterns of activation shifting across network nodes. So rather than searching a central database, information flows continuously through an interconnected path network. And when you acquire new knowledge or experience, as I mentioned, the system changes its underlying structure. So learning directly corresponds to the gradual adjustment and reconfiguration of connection patterns and weights between the processing units. So that is a very interesting concept. It has gone to some extent and it has been studied by some of them, but it is still not widely accepted. Global workspace theory, global broadcasting, or you can say information becomes conscious when you share them and there are networks are frontoparietal chiefly, and this is very interesting. You know what they are trying to say, that the global workspace is a functional concept describing how information becomes available across these different systems. With different systems, sorry, one second, that's phone. So uh, when you focus attention on something, that information gains access to this workspace and can be used by multiple brain systems simultaneously. I mean, the classic example that they give is I think Bars was the person who proposed this powerful metaphor, which is central to this theory. The mind is a theater. In this theater, consciousness is like a bright spotlight. On the theater, there is a platform, there is a bright spotlight, and only the information that falls under the spotlight becomes conscious. So when there are different actors, so one actor is speaking, the spotlight falls on that. So everything else in the theater, the vast backstage area, the audience, the straight stage heads or represent these all represent the unconscious mind. The spotlight selects specific information from the countless neural processes and brings it into conscious awareness. So this is how the global workspace theory occurs. Uh, it explains what mind actually does rather than just describing mental contents. It is not a separate entity. Mind is not a separate entity, but a process, the process of information integration and broadcasting. Your sense of self, your ability to reflect on your thoughts, and your capacity to plan and reason all depend on having this access to the global workspace. So this is a different theory, and here the information when it is broadcast, it can be stored in memory, reported verbally, used to guide another action, or evaluated for emotional significance, like man, vachan, or kaya. All three is done by this. So this broadcast function is what creates the unified experience we call the mind. The mind is the workspace and its dynamics, not something separate from the brain. Then comes the IIT, Integrated Information Theory. This symbol, as physicists know, is field. Consciousness is equal to field. And consciousness corresponds to a system's capacity for integrated information measured by field. A system is conscious to the degree that it cannot be decomposed into different independent parts. So IIT represents the most rigorous form of mind brain identity theory. It's an identity theory, but it is taken very much forward. It does not say that mind correlates with brain activity or is produced by the brain. It says that mind is literally integrated information and the brain is the physical system that generates it. This is not a metaphor approximation. According to IIT, consciousness and integrated information both are identical, just as heat is identical to molecular motion or water is identical to H2O. Similarly, the IIT theory says this way. So it also explains coma, epilepsy, dementia, psychiatry issue very nicely. So now we come to some another interesting concept in cognitive neuroscience, and that is localized awareness versus universal consciousness. It is called integrated field hypothesis. Now, neural correlates here, as I mentioned, thalamocortical system, default mode network, etc. And these different systems, and these are the like here there is something happening in the apical dendrites, whether it's synapse level or epipeptic level, and then there is some local information going on there that produces localized awareness. So the consciousness of the self on the regional level or on the self level is produced by the local activity of apical dendrites, their synapses, and epipeptic, matlab, touching activity. So this is called dendritic noise and integration. All right. And when there is dendritic decoupling occurs, like in meditative states or some states where uh, uh, patient is relaxing in sleep, etc., NREM sleep, as for example, then this local consciousness, personal consciousness is replaced by the holistic awareness. So, to summarize, personal consciousness arises from the strong local field transmission and reception, high amplitude synaptic and epipeptic activity, and sustains narrative self fragmentation and localized knowing. While it is present in ordinary waking states in high local noise, while holistic awareness is impersonal collective intelligence of the whole of life and universe. It's not produced by any brain, the ground in which all activity appears. This is very interesting. This is where it merges with the Brahma, accessible when local dendritic noise subsides by silence or meditation or deep NAREM or advanced states. And okay, so there are neural correlates with EEG, etc., which I don't think I'll go into detail. Then there are another things like high order thought, like meta awareness, thinking about thinking. Now, it's very interesting, isn't it, that we are talking about the activity of our mind. Our mind is talking about our own activity of mind. I mean, it's funny, but it is true. So, this is what higher order thought does. Predictive processing is another interesting theory where brain predicts reality. It minimizes the error part, and some of the things which are not explained by previous theories, like emerging hallucinations and delusions, are done by predictive processing. So, predictive processing and active interference, the unified framework of Carl Finster. And the brain is fundamentally a predictive machine. It constantly generates internal models of the world and updates them via sensory prediction errors. So, brain brain generates internal models of the world. Every time we see something, hear something, we create a model, and we update via sensory prediction errors. So, whatever previous things were there, we are removed. The scope of inference is perception, action, and even consciousness. So, uh, I think this slide is slightly more complex, but the unified framework explains why mental states consistently correspond to brain states, why changing the brain changes the mind, and why the mind appears to have causal power. It does because its algorithm, the brain, survive. Now, the important concept is the brain minimizes free energy through predictive processing, and this process is what we call the mind. Brain and mind are not separate entities, but different perspectives of the same process. Brain minimizes free energy through predictive processing, like a processing computer. And this process is what we call the mind. And perception, attention, all these fall into that. Then there is another theory of embodied and inactivist cognition, challenging the brain centric view. Now, so far, most of the time we have centered on brain. Now, here, this theory says, it's not only the brain which is important to generate mind. There are four E's: embodied cognition, embedded cognition, enacted cognition, and extended cognition. What is that? Cognition embodied matlab is deeply dependent upon and shaped by the specific physical structure and sensory motor system of the brain. That is our personal brain and its activity. While cognition and mind goes beyond that. So part two is embedded. Cognition is always situated within a distinct physical, ecological, and socio-cultural environment and decay. So there is an environmental system interacts with the environment, and that creates a embedded mind. Then enacted mind. So cognition is not passive representation, but active sense making generated through meaningful and environment. And extended is cognition literally leaks outside the skull and skin, incorporating physical tools, technology, and institutional artifacts. So that is called 4E cognition paradigm shift. Here, there's a new landscape. There's a decentralized mind. Brain and mind are that way different. Physical structure is inside us, but the mind leaks outside also, and it is also affected by environment and other things. That is what they are trying to tell. We are not detached biological observers decoding external streams of objective data. We are active, embodied participants co-creating and acting our reality. Then comes the final last two theories, quantum consciousness and mind. This is very interesting. Nowadays, most of the scientists talk in terms of quantum science. So, when microtubule hypothesis was laid down by Roger Penrose, and he mentioned that brain may act as an instrument that organizes these objective reductions occurring in the environment, similar to how musicians tune instruments before playing music. Roger Penrose and Stuart Hemsworth proposed that consciousness arises from the quantum computations in microtubules within neurons, widely considered speculative and lacking experimental support. It's a subatomic phenomenon. Like, if you see this, this is a microtubule. So, in a cell, there are certain structures like Golgi apparatus and mitochondria and all. There are microtubules in dozens and tons up to that level. And these are the microtubules which query quantum field. And this is how fundamental quantum process, not an emergent byproduct. Is the mind separate? Quantum mind theories challenge long-standing views in philosophy of mind. What is consciousness? It's a fundamental quantum process, not an emergent byproduct. Is the mind separate from matter? No. Mind and matter are deeply entangled aspects of one reality. Can machines become conscious? Yes, only if they replicate quantum process of awareness. And is free will real? Possibly, yes. So quantum mechanism answers and adapts all these questions also. There are various views. And the last part, I'll take only 2, 3 minutes. I hope so. When you are seeing something red, uh, as for example, again coming to imagine that you see a red rose in a garden and you are amused by the rich redness of it. So where here the critical question is where in the world does this redness reside? Does it reside in the rose? The only reason we call a red rose red is that it reflects light within a certain wavelength band while absorbing light of other wavelengths, so that the reflected light that signals the color of the rose, but the rose itself is not red. So it's a phenomenon of light reflection, not the red rose. Red rose does not lie in the rose, it's just because of reflection phenomenon. Answer two, redness resides in the reflected light. Then light of a given wavelength cannot even be assigned a unique color. For example, when light with a wavelength of say 680 nanometer will usually be perceived as red by human observer, that same observer may also perceive it as scarlet, crimson, etc., depending on the makeup of the surrounding environment. Answer three, does the color experience occur when the light enters the eye and strikes retina? In the retina, where there are specialized photoreceptors for red, but there is no mechanism in the retina by which red receptors make experience. And answer four, it is, the, it is only when signals reach the brain that conscious perception of red happens, although it is a matter of considerable dispute as to which particular brain structures are doing the seeing and what mechanism is accomplished. So the structures and mechanisms will inevitably offer only a correlate for the experience of red, not an explanation for the red cell. This is where the problem, hard problem comes again. You can uh, you can see but cannot explain. You can explain the neural correlates, but you cannot explain the perception. Where does the red come from, basically? Chemicals may churn. If we accept the brain is the site at which the conscious experience of red arises, we are led to the awkward conclusion that two different phenomena are associated with redness. One physical and objective observable, consisting of brain processes that correspond to red, and the other is a mental and subjectively experienced, consisting of conscious experience of red cells. So this is how the whole thing is tangled between brain and mind. So, key message continuum brain mind consciousness network based integration is one of the best explanation. Still unresolved, no working model as a consensus, and therefore, Vedic and other models are also being discussed and studied right these days in neuroscience. And because of the constraint of time, I would finish my talk and not go into this uh, ancient Indian perspective of mind and brain paradigm. Thank you very much, sir. And I'm sorry if I bored you, but I think this is what I was expected to.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. It is really interesting. You have presented various theories related with mind and also their limitations. Your lecture was very comprehensive, really great. Uh, Thank you very much. And also thank you that you accepted our invitation to give a detailed talk on this. So thanks a lot. Now this is over to Dr. Pratap Sancheti ji. Uh, yes, sir.
First, I will like to congratulate Dr. Sudhir Shah for the excellent deliberations. He has taken the topic forward and given us a lot of new ideas, lot of concentrations in our mind and the queries in our mind. I am sure it will appreciated by every one of us. It's open for the discussion. Please raise your hand or yeah, yes, sir. Dr.
Yes.
Narendra Bhandari, please. Unmute
Very,
yourself.
very nice talk, Dr. Saab. Comprehensive, and you covered all the aspects. But still, I think the question remains how the consciousness arises. Uh, so I think by the time we finish our roundtable meetings, we'll have some insight into it. But I have a small question. You mentioned in your talk somewhere that the brain creates the model. Is it the brain which creates the model or mind? Of course, very difficult to separate the two. Can you just explain that part for me?
Did I say that brain creates model? I don't think so.
Oh, I
There's
see.
some misunderstanding.
Okay. So, brain only collects the data.
No, the different theories mention different things. So some of the theories mention that it collects data, uh, processing parts. So all these theories have different connotations, but it does not create a model. That's what I may clarify.
That is created by the mind. Models
Yeah,
are created by
the
the mind.
by the mind. Brain is more or less in all this. It is considered a physical structure which supports or generates data. As said, many of them say it's hardware or some supporting system or whatever. While the mind is the functional component, which and these different theories, including quantum theories or spotlight theory, of global workspace theory or IIT, integrated information theory, all these say different way the same subject. But uh, I was very much intrigued with one particular discussion that is in our ancient text, which after the next talk, with time permits, I will talk on that for couple of minutes if I'm allowed. But this is very interesting, and modern neuroscience has some direction from that.
Thank you very much. Excellent talk, and I think we appreciate. I think it has added to our understanding of this very complex system. So, thank you, sir.
I'm sorry that these were very, very you know, uh, uninteresting talk in the sense it was all data and theories, but I mean, that's the way it is. So I couldn't make it more
No,
simple than.
it gave us authentic insight into all these phenomena. So that was a great, I mean, thing you've done. We understood how difficult or intricate it is. So I think we'd like to hear about consciousness from you sometime, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I'll have to. Uh, I have
And the
to
next one is
work hard on
Dr.
that.
Sangeeta Shah. Dr. Sangeeta Shah, please.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. And sir, it was a very fascinating presentation by you. For me, I am a learner, and just began learning about neuroscience in comparison with Jainology, which of course are two different fields altogether. Pardon if I am not so conversant with the neuroscience models and all. What I tried to understand when you said the brain and mind are the same, uh, you definitely meant as ontologically identical, right? Or did you mean that every mental phenomenon is fully explainable by brain activity?
Yeah, that's what the identity theory says, no? And that's why I brought out the limitation of this. That it cannot explain the authenticity of self. It does not explain the subjective experiences, qualia, etc. So
Mm.
the subjective part of the experience is not explained by either identity theory or
Oh.
similar theories which mean. But this the present neuroscience is somehow happy with that, because here this consciousness business and this uh, quality of self experiences, etc., is not required for the cognitive neuroscience, so to say. It is more in the domain of philosophy, according to neuroscientists, which I don't think is correct.
Or maybe it's just they are explaining only the mechanisms of cognitions. Is that it, sir?
Yes, cognition and behavior, basically.
Cognition in
That can
behavior.
be explained on the basis of neural firing patterns, but
Yeah.
subjective experiences, the authenticity of self, and the conviction that this is true. How does it come? When
Mhm.
I'm saying something, the conviction that I believe so and it is so, where does it come from? Where does the self resides? All these
Mhm.
questions are not answered by identity theory or functionalism or those kind of theories.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Any other question or any other comments?
Uh, can I ask a question to Dr. Shah?
Yes, please.
Yeah. An excellent talk and so much of information about brain. But all that is converges to soft problem, as Dr. Shah has admitted. And the real problem is to answer the hard problem. And I think Jainism has much to offer to this side, on how to solve the hard problem. And you are the expert of both the streams, both the fields, the neuroscience as well as Jainism. So why don't you put forward or push forward the Jain theory to explain all these things,
I will
which are
do
not
that, sir, in the
explained by
next.
neuroscience?
Sir, in the next presentation, RTM, I am going to embark on that journey. But as I
Okay.
mentioned in the beginning, today I am limiting my talk only to the hardcore science, current prevailing theories, because that would make the uh, fundamental understanding of what is currently being. If I go on talking on ancient different phenomena, ancient different theories, particularly Jainism, it would take another 45 to even more minutes. But I think you're right. There are some answers which are not solved by the current neuroscience. But For that, I have to even work little more hard. I have to understand different aspects of uh, explanation from other Vedic and uh, different texts, and then compare with Jainism and come up with something. So I will need your help in that part. All of you may contribute because collectively we can create something. It would be more of a uh, network theory. So we'll all operate on a kind of network and create something.
Thank you.
Dr. Shah, you were mentioning about quantum consciousness. Can you just word quantum, what exactly mean in this context?
Pardon, sir?
What is the meaning of the word quantum in the quantum consciousness?
Here,
That
this
microtubule, you said. Yeah.
microtubules is the quantum.
Oh, quant is the size or it is the speed or what is the, because physics basically talks of the communication, quantum communication, entanglement, what they call it.
I can't
So is it
hear you.
is the same as
Please
quantum
bring your,
or
आप अपना माइक के पास लाइए सर मुंह
it
हाँ
is same as quantum or it is
Sir,
speed
give
or it
me
is
a
the
minute.
size?
I'll be back within a minute. There's some work, urgent work.
Okay. Uh,
Sir,
Dr. Narendra Bhandari, can you answer this one? Quantum.
yeah, quantum means there is a lot of options available, probabilities,
Yes.
and it has to choose one of them. Now, according to Penrose, and this phenomena happens only when it is not happening in classical course, जो स्थूल बोलते हैं अपन, वहाँ नहीं होता है, वहाँ classical mechanism है determinism. But when you go to very fine size, particle and below, let us say, or atom or below, then there is a probability. For example, if you throw a ball, there are 15 windows. If you throw a ball, it will go through only one of them. That is the classical thing. But if you throw a particle, it goes through all of them. So that is the quantum phenomena. But my feeling is that actually ये जो Penrose की theory है, they equate consciousness to decision making. So when there are many probabilities, finally it boils down to one. It chooses one. That is called collapse of the wave function.
Yeah.
So that is what happens when microtubules are nanometer size. So he says they get excited and then they come to a conclusion and opt for one decision making. But in my opinion, personal opinion, consciousness is much more than just decision making.
Yeah.
And I think the other way around. I think it is the consciousness or the free will which gives rise to quantum phenomena rather than quantum phenomena giving you probabilities. So I probably can talk about this, but
my feeling is that one only, sir. It's it's a consciousness which decides how the neurons will be working.
Right.
And the second thing is one of the biggest element is still left out is what is the definition of the consciousness. Unless it is a uniform, we will be always arguing with the different explanations.
No, it is very clear. I think in Vedantic system they say there is a field. Consciousness is a field. It fills the whole universe, and it is a quantum field.
So they have not done into the physical aspect. This field they have not defined as the physical one. That's where the main problem lies.
Sir, my understanding, sir, of course I am not an expert on this. The whole universe has three kind of domains, as I talked also.
Yes.
The physical, the mental, and the conscious domain. They all three occur together, and there is an exchange between them. The exchange, they say, is through turbulence or something like that. So the consciousness is a quantum field, and that is how I personally think that the quantum thing arises because of consciousness free will rather
Yes,
than the other way around.
other way around. Quite correct, sir.
I think
Any other
this is a
question? Dr. Parag, short question. We have got the next lecture.
Sir, I agree with Bhandari sir because consciousness cannot be measured by physical means. It is neither energy nor matter, so it cannot be measured. And consciousness is also a different form of energy, which is different totally, which we cannot measure with our routine instruments or senses or whatever is matter or even electromagnetic field or even any quantum instruments also, because it is not even quantum. It uses quantum, but it is not quantum. Just like mind uses brain, but is not brain. The Atman is not quantum, but it uses quantum because of its powers. So that is what I feel, sir.
Yeah, quite correct.
Sorry, I
Arthur?
missed the conversation. I'm sorry about that. There was something urgent which I had to attend. But regarding this, what Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff proposed that consciousness arises from quantum computations within the microtubules within the neurons. So this is also widely speculative, but there are no experimental support for that. And another thing, as Dr. Bhandari would know, that quantum would require uh, coldness or something like that, while in brain it doesn't happen. So they are now working on biological processes that produces appropriate atmosphere or weather inside, which can support this theory. So there are lots of experiments. Roger Penrose is one of the most respected name in the neuroscience and physics both. So perhaps, although so far it is not a very convincing theory for many, but somewhere it is gaining some kind of foothold because of the mechanics of microtubules is one of the most exciting field in neuroscience, and now we are trying to explain many functions of the brain at the micro level and quantum level through microtubules. So this is a very key structures, one of the key structures. Dr. Pratap, I would agree that current focus is in microtubules.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhir sir. Excellent lecture and academic interaction thereafter. You have generated a lot of money curiosity. Thanks once again for being with us today. We pass on to now second lecture of the day. Dr. Anil Jain from Surat. He'll be talking to us on the relationship between brain and mind, a philosophical and scientific view. He'll be giving a little different direction to the discussion today. Dr. Anil Jain, please.
ओके सर, सभी ग्रेट महानुभावों को मेरा सादर जय जिनेंद्र. And at the outset, I place on record the great humility of the great personalities, Professor Kachara sir, Dr. Bhandari sir, Sanchiti sir, Sudhir sir, and other all great, Anil sir, all great personalities are in this. And inducting me in this group is a great honor for me. And let me start. If you need my introduction, then Anil sir, I am a graduate from the. Should I give you my introduction or hello?
Unmute करिए सर.
Sancheti sir.
So please pass on to your lecture first.
ये आप दोबारा बोलिए सर, संचेती साहब. Mic pass on.
The time is short, so that I will
Okay,
request
so
you to.
let me start.
Yes.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay, sir. So again, Sadar Judge in to all Manava. And is my primary talk actually, because all great personality has presented, Professor Kachara sir, Dr. Bhandari, Dr. Sanchiti, because internal structure of mind and brain, Dr. Sudhir sir and Dr. Sanchiti, and cosmic phenomena by Dr. Bhandari, and all scientific view by Professor Kachara sir. I gathered some of the information from the Jain Shastras or Puranas, or discussing with the Munis and scholars of Jain community. So what I gathered the information according to Jain philosophy, what is man actually? Already in detail, historically has been explained all previous speakers, but man is Sat Indri or Kinchit Indri as per Jainism, not visible like other Indri, called Antakaran actually. This is 5 indriyas, 5 indriya hain. And another 6 indri they are calling it is a kinchit or issat indri as per the Jain philosophy, and is the fundamental from the our Tattvar Sutra and other shastras is there. And then classification of man, how man is classified, that as we all are aware that Drabyaman and Bhavman. So Drabyaman as per the Jain philosophy is a shaped lotus-like 8 petals, and we all know, and formed through manobarganas. Man is forming through manobarganas, and it is ajiv. It is a pudgal. So it is manobarganas are pudgal, and I have given there are total 23 manobarganas are there in the universe, and this universe is full of manobarganas. And this one interesting concept are discussing this earth, even earth, water, Agni, Vayu, etc. are there. They are from with the addition of these manobarganas. Manobargana is one of them, and barganas are there around our everywhere. This all sukshma, this quantum physics we were talking. This entire universe, as per the Jainism, is full of sukshma parmanu. Anu, we can call it as at Anu, Parmanu, quantum, or waves. Because I attended Vipassana also 10 days, Sibir. So this Buddhism is describing is waves, because this Goenka ji has expressed that one of the scientists who awarded the Nobel Prize in Japanese scientist, that what he studied his entire body and all these are full of waves after sadhanas and all. And our all great munis and all sadhaks, they also experience, और Lord महावीर, भगवान महावीर ने भी यही महसूस किया जो लिखा हुआ है एक्चुअली. सो एंटायर जो भी पुद्गल बनता है, जैसे भी किसी भी कोई भी मेटर ले लीजिए, वो बरगनाओं के कॉम्बिनेशन से ही मिलता है. और तत्वार सूत्र में भी एक सूत्र आया है कि जैसे हम जैसे दो परमाणु, दो परमाणु या 2 और 3 परमाणु ऐसे करेंगे तो वो उसका कॉम्बिनेशन 2 4 नहीं होता, 2 से 4.5 हो सकता है, 5 हो सकता है. लाइक दैट इट इज तत्वार सूत्रा's moral of the story. So the description and the understanding about the man, the द्रव्य मन, जो 8 पैलेट्स है हार्ट में, हार्ट के नाभि के ऊपर, उसी को वो मानते हैं. और जो द्रव्य मन है, भाव मन को दे आर कॉलिंग एंड मनोबर्गनाज एक्चुअली. एंड भाव मन इज ए चेतना, इट इज इंटरलिंक विद आत्मा. मैंने बहुत स्टडी करने के बाद और पूछने के बाद ये सारा बहुत शॉर्ट में प्रेजेंट कर रहा हूं यहाँ पर. इट इज जीव इज इंटरलिंक विद आत्मा. जो अपना भाव मन है वो आत्मा से लिंक है, एंड already described as a Issat Indri or Kinchant Indri, and it is not visible. So Bhavman along with the Atma is everywhere in the body except hair and nails. Whatever our Shastras prescribe, that जो Bhavman है body में हर जगह है. जैसे ही click, जैसे ही उसको instinct it clicks, then or everything is consciousness and every phenomena, जो understanding है, जो विचार आते हैं, thought आते हैं, वो because of this our body accept the manobarganas and started acting, and it is a part of the atma. Atma is separate, uska roop nahi hai, is no formless, everything it is there. So Bhavaman is the interlink with the Atman. And what also is interesting here, one sense to four sense and some five sense organ. जो जीव हैं, they do not have man, but they have soul actually. Some where it is clicked, and in Shastras also it has come that some जो four in one sense to four sense or even five sense organs, some man is there, but they are describing that they don't have this organs do not have this man actually, because it is they have atma, they have a soul, but they don't have man. And only this panchendri seni be personality, because it depends upon the ज्ञाना वर्णी क्षयोपसम, ज्ञाना वर्णी कर्माज का जो क्षयोपसम है, उस क्षयोपसम का जैसे जैसे this करण लब्धि एंड ऑल लब्धियां, वी आर डिस्क्राइब लब्धियां, जैसे जैसे प्रोग्रेशन होता है लब्धियों का, उसी तरीके से ये हमारा एग्जिस्टेंस ह्यूमन बीइंग का होता है. तो वो दे हैव ए मन, एंड अदर ऑल 1 to 4 senses and some of the 5 senses organ do not have मन, बट दे हैव ए सोल. सो दिस इज अल्टीमेटली, ये बहुत एक संक्षेप में दिस इज द क्रक्स व्हाट जैनिज्म इज सेज. And next it is this comparative study, this consciousness matrix. It is that what, as already explained, the brain is hardware and mind is software. Generally, we come to know only up to this part, and modern materialistic science says about the brain is ultimate source. Neurons physically create the mind. And what about the software mind? The mere byproduct of chemical reaction in the brain so far. And this cognitive science and neurophilosophy is a complex data processing machine, brain. And mind, what about mind, is an emergent property of the physical system. And what Jain philosophy say, Drabyaman, a material instrument, Manovargana, used by the soul. And Bhavaman, the immaterial living potency of the soul itself, जो I have already said in my previous slide. So the mechanism of Manovargana, how the Manovargana, the science of thought of materialization, and how thoughts become matter, the science of Manovargana, how it attacks. So it's a flow chart, it is given. Immaterial thought, intent, that is bhav. And then comes to the influx of subtle matter, cluster, Manovargana. And then comes to the physical neural activation in the brain, that is Drabyaman. So this is the complete summary of whatever in cognitive science or this medical science and all. So far it has been what I studied and what I got actually. And how do an immaterial soul and a physical brain talk to each other? Jainism explains via Manovargana, a specialized class of ultra subtle matter aggregates. Every time you think, your soul attracts these subtle physical particles, which then shape your neurological responses. Thoughts are literally material forces. So this is the conclusion actually. And I emphasizing only this part, my first slide. This is this about the universe and full of the varganas, and every pudgal, whatever matter is formed by the addition of different different varganas, and that is why existence of earth, water, agni and vayu in the universe. So this is an our also physical student, that lot of details are there, but I have in 2 sheets only. I'm trying to do justice, but with I'm a primary student actually in front of these all great personalities. So whatever I understood, so I presented here. If any questions is there, is welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Jain, for summarizing the whole events. You have tried to synthesize the science and the philosophy. And of course, there are many questions, there are many comments, but you have in a short and in the sweet form, you have just summarized the whole event. I invite the questions. Dr. Sangeeta, please. Dr. Sangeeta, your hands.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर अनिल जी जैन। आपका ये सुन के बहुत अच्छा लगा। मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, शायद मैंने बराबर से सुना नहीं या मैं मिसअंडरस्टैंड किया। आप ये कहना चाहते हैं कि ये जो इंटेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, आपने लास्ट में जो बताया, भाव
जी।
का जो आपने बताया, इंटेंट की बात,
हम्म।
इमटेरियल थॉट इंटेंट, ये इंटेंट से आप क्या कहना चाहते हैं? Because as far as Jainism goes and as far as what I have studied, bhav is a state of existence which is classified into 5. So what you mean by bhav over here, I need to understand properly. Otherwise, I will make some other understanding out of your talk. So can you explain what you mean by intent over here?
Intent, actually, this is bhav is a, generally it has been described is a manobargana. Bhav is attracting the soul, is whenever any thought, because of our jnana varni karam chayopsam, and the thought is come, then is attracting the varganas from the universe. Actually, ultimately what I understood the entire phenomena, because no one has clarity about this. I've also thought a lot by listening all these previous speakers lectures and great scholars of Jainism. Actually, ultimately this is the this is in nutshell, actually, ma'am.
Yeah, I understand that, sir. Maybe I will connect with you on a personal level and I'll put up my questions so that you can sort it out and tell me what you meant by intent. Because intent is only one part of bhav. Because bhav, as described in Tattvartha Sutra, is audaik, kshamik, aupshamik.
Yeah.
So these are 5 kinds of, and intent is part of that. So when you say immaterial thought intent, and you equate it with bhav, then it creates a different interpretation altogether. So if you are interpreting it that way, then it's fine. But I just need to know what you are trying to say, sir.
बट
So
क्या है कि
maybe
मैंने भी ये बहुत इस पे गहराई, बहुत डीपली आई थॉट अबाउट दिस, एंड का निकल के नहीं आता है वो, इट्स नॉट कमिंग आउट प्रॉपरली, वेदर
sir,
तत्व सूत्र.
I will try to help you on that.
Okay,
Whatever you
good.
need to understand on this part, Jain part, I am thorough with that. So maybe we can work together on this wherever
Okay.
you need help, sir.
Thank you. No, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. Thank you, Anil Jain, sir. Thank you so much.
Any other question, please? Or any comments? In fact, Jainism has given a beautiful model of the understanding, which looks like is quite okay and correct. Only deficiency in this model, in these models, all philosophical models, is that they don't have got the physical correlates, which we can accept. We can ask others to accept it. We can accept. We will be accepting it because it is there, and we believe in it. But whether it will be accepted by the other people, or can we put it to the
Yes.
others? That's the basic problem. So whenever you put anything, if you also put it some physical correlate, and in the language which, like intent, the word right now we were just talking about, English words, intent is quite simple. Oxford Dictionary doesn't give too many meanings to the intent, but we are using it, may not be in a correct way in our interpretations. So that's a different one. So we need to, if there are no other questions, I pass on to Dr. Anil Jain for his comments and the closer.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sancheti. In the
Yeah.
meantime, Dr. Parag has given some explanation in the chat box.
He has
Anil ji
already
can
asked the
go through
questions.
this. No,
He has
not
asked.
question. Explanation about intent. Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Dr.
So
Parag, will you like to give a little bit?
Yes, sir. This choice and intent is a small part of the will, which is there with a capital W, which is universal part of the mind, will. And will is, I feel, it is a part of the Upayoga Lakshanam, which is given in Tattvartha. Upayoga is the mind, which the using of mind to grow, that I think that to evolve. So if by I can give an example. If there is a plant or a creeper and there is no sunlight, and if there is some sunlight coming from some area, the creeper automatically adjusts itself and moves itself, grows towards the light. So this life which is there in the creeper, in the plant, the jiva, it chooses the light over darkness to grow or to evolve. So this is a part of upyog which takes place in all the jivas, and this is also a part of the intent and will as a part of the upyoga lakshan. That is, and this I have discussed with one quantum physics physicist who was partly convinced with it. So intent is a part of the soul itself, the jiva itself.
Yes, sir.
okay. Dr.
But
Sudhir
when
Shah
we
wants to.
say, sir, I have.
I
Can
think
I say?
we will not have the cross discussion too much, and because time is now getting shorter for us, we are nearing 9 o'clock. So let Dr. Anil.
Okay, let us take one comment from Dr. Sudhir Shah.
I I just wanted to mention that in Jainism also there are a lot of correlates of neuroscience and cognition, which Dr. Kachara sir had mentioned. We will take some other time when we have time. But in the uh, uh, in the Vedic sciences, in the Vedic literature, Upanishad, etc., whatever the uh, models of Man, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankar, and Atman and pranic flows are given, they have come up with some wonderful ideas and correlation with uh, current cognitive neuroscience, etc. And I wish today, as the time is getting over, I won't be able to take that. I had some slides made for that. And I must mention that my own student and now independent consultant, Dr. Shailesh Darji, was also very instrumental in helping me and creating this presentation along with lot of material there. Is Dr. Shailesh Darji around? Dr. Shailesh, are you here? No problem.
So we are not seeing.
No problem. So,
Was there. Dr. Shailesh is there.
Acha, is there?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Yes.
Oh, you want to say something at the end, Shailesh, because I think you have also learned a lot. There was some question on quantum and other you might have heard. So, if you wish to add something, I wanted to acknowledge you basically. And
Yes, sir,
now,
definitely I can add something. Actually, the science believe that everything comes to exist because of brain only. So it is hardly reductionist theory for science, and it never think of that universal consciousness or what spiritual or philosophical aspects which is mentioned for consciousness. So until unless science prove that consciousness is also basically a phenomenon which is backed by brain tissue, that is material, they will keep doing hard work for finding out the way how to prove that consciousness is also a part of brain only, and they definitely get this quantum mechanics to be explained for this consciousness phenomenon, because they think that consciousness is just like if you evaporate water, it will become formless. You cannot see the steam which is there. So same way consciousness is something which we cannot see, but it is definitely there, and there is something which can explain definitely in future they will find out. And in quantum mechanics and in all these mental models, they think that because of lots of billions of neurons which are connecting with each other at certain level, there's some algorithmic activity happen, and then it will give rise to consciousness phenomenon. So it is definitely because of neurons only. So many neurons are interconnected with each other, and that leads to something which is happening there. So if we make similar model in laboratory with lots of millions of structures which are interconnected with each other, it may become conscious by its own way. So that system can be generated theoretically in laboratory also. But being a science guy, I can never say from your perspective or from philosophical people perspective that how they can say that consciousness is first there and then everything happen. I think that it is because of this physical thing, brain consciousness exists, and basically it is a biological form which gives rise to brain and all these senses to make survival happen. See, if biological form doesn't have brain, it will never survive, it will never propagate. So uh, actually we should find out why this biological form happen in this physical world. That is the actually question. Because if it is biological form, it will become conscious because of this brain activity. But why biological forms are there, that is the main question. We should find out that thing, okay, why it there. If you close your eye and if you just feel that if you are not exist, if you are not there, then what world will look like? Have you ever noticed this thing? It is known as nihilistic delusion, where you think that nothing is there, I am also not there, then how world will look like? World is still there, but there is no biological form. So this is what my thing is, that we should find out how this life came. Consciousness is basically a part of life. It is a part of matter. It is not there, it was there since birth or since many years, but actually it is because of biological form. That is what my question is there. So we should find out why this happen, why life happens. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity and this platform.
A good explanation. Thank you, Dr. Sailesji. Uh, so now it is time to wind up our session. So let me conclude. Really, we are thrilled to hear Dr. Sudhir Saha. Only one thing that I wish that somehow can we integrate all the theories that he has presented, just like we have a theory of Samvaya in our Jain text, that any event happen, five things happen simultaneously. Five things are contributing simultaneously at a time. So somehow, some of the theory is partly giving some answer, some theory is not giving any answer. Somehow, can we integrate all these things? This is my wish. Or I think Dr. Kachar Saab also hinted in this direction that if we introduce Jain theory of mind and brain, of course, mind and consciousness, so it may give some answer. So let us try and let us take some thing in this direction as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Sudhir Sasa, that he has given a nice presentation. He accepted our invitation, and next time also he committed that he will give another lecture. So we are very happy for that. We will keen to hear you again. Next lecture was by Dr. Anil Jain from Surat. Actually, we could not give his introduction. Let me introduce. He is basically from UP and he has done his graduation as engineering, uh, and then he started his career in BARC, Bhava Atomic Research Center. Then he left from there and joined many other companies. I am happy that he is our new member in Jain Academy of Scholars. I welcome him, and he has given his primary talk here, and wish that he will further take something from our lecture series and give a big lecture on this subject. So thank you both the scholars. and also thank Pratap Sancheti Saab and all the persons who participated, Dr. Kachara Saab, Bhandari Saab, our Dr. Milwanki Saab, Parag ji, and Dr. Sangeeta ji, and all others, and Shailesh ji, of course. So thank you very much all. And now I will request Bhandari Saab uh, to say a few words, and then we will finish this session.
Yeah, what a wonderful session we had. Very comprehensive and informative talk by Dr. Sudhir Shah, and I think Anilji added Jainism in that, which was missing, because Dr. Sudhir Shah was confining to scientific aspects. I think both, if we combine the both, will probably make some progress. So it was a great learning session for me, and on behalf of JS, I want to thank speakers and of course organizers, Dr. Anil Jain, Dr. Pratap Sancheti, and of course all people who asked questions and made it lively. So we look forward to the next RTM and again lecture from Dr. Sudhir Shah on the ancient Indian theories about consciousness. But the main point remains is how first can we define consciousness. I think main problem comes because there is no proper definition, and consciousness is beyond any boundaries of definition. So all these things cannot produce awareness or self-awareness. And you see, all the scientific theories, they take different definitions and try to prove it. So let us see how we progress. Again, on behalf of Jain Academy, I thank everybody.
Let me give you some information that Dr. Arun, Arun Jain from Chennai, he will give his talk on next Tuesday, and along with him, other speakers are uh, Dr. Neha Jain, and we will see if time permits, we will add one more speaker there. So this is information from my side. And Purviji, you want to add something?
Sir, one second, one second.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
I know time is over, but right now the consciousness is defined more in terms of energy field, universal energy field, and Vedic science as well as modern neuroscience is working on that, and we'll take up when we discuss that in the future.
Yes,
That
very good.
energy,
Thank you.
which is a very different type of energy, that is what we are looking at. Thank you.
Great.
Sorry for
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you. So let us finish our session right now. Any other point anyone wants to tell? Fateh Chanji, you are very attentive. You want to say something?
सर बहुत एंजॉय कर रहे हैं, बहुत सीख रहे हैं आपके सारे आरटीएम से, और अटेंशन का पर्पज यही है कि हमको इंटरेस्ट है इस सब्जेक्ट में. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सभी स्पीकर्स को और गेस्ट को.
थैंक यू. डॉक्टर विपिन जी थोड़ा लेट ज्वाइन किए, एनीवे ही इज हियर. थैंक यू.
सर दूसरे काम से अटक गया था.
So Jainendra and good night to all. Thank you.
Can we, sir, keep one talk from Shailendra?